Today I'm going to talk a little bit about the making of Welcome Home, Ulysses, my latest published work. Now, did anybody ask for this? Did anybody ask for a making of video? No, but I'm going to do it anyway because I want to. So that's how it goes. I'm fascinated by the kind of things that go into one's work, one's artistic work, how things end up a certain way. I'm always interested to know, why a particular song went a particular way, went in a particular direction, how inspiration was found from an unusual place, how things, if you're writing a song or a poem or a play or a story or making a movie or staging a play, how you can't just plan where you're going. It takes the doing of it for the product to come out. And when it appears on the page or in whatever form that it appears, it's inevitably not what you expect it to be. Sometimes it's radically different from what you expect it to be, and other times it's different by just a few degrees, but it's never the same. It's never exactly what you think it's going to be, and that intrigues me. So I'm going to talk about that with regard to Welcome Home. Welcome Home. There I go again. Welcome Home, Odysseus. All right. Now, I want to say, first of all, it's you guys. I thought some of y'all was my friend, but you're making these sniping little comments. Some of you, when I came out and said, look, I saw Christopher Nolan's Odysseus. I liked it. Here are the reasons why I liked it. When I said that, I was expecting to get all kinds of hate. And I haven't gotten hate per se. I've gotten more passive aggressive hostility from some. Like one of you out there, one commenter, I'm not going to expose him by saying his name, but actually I don't remember his name. I don't remember his username right now. When I did my live segment yesterday, one of the commenters said, which was about, oh, I've got this new novella coming out, this new novella coming out, and blah blah blah, and so this guy gets on board, and I have a deep streak of self-deprecation. So if somebody just takes a shot at me, it always kind of amuses me because I'm a masochist, I guess. Especially when it's really, really harsh. So one of you, and you know who you are, and I didn't remove your comment. So because again, anything that makes me laugh, I'm all for. But one of you said, so TLDR, is this just about how Andy liked the Nolan movie? First of all, TLDR, I don't want to sit through all that crap. Just hit me with the bottom line. I don't have time to hear you blather on for however long I blathered on in that live video. Just bottom line me. Someone just bottom line me. What's what's the deal? Is it all because he liked that, because he's become a cuck, and he liked that woke movie that we all know is woke, but he liked it, so that shows he's not really authentically one of us. That he didn't say that, but I mean, it's the sort of implication was there. There was also another recent event. There was this other recent event where I had somebody take issue with me for something that was not relevant to the Christopher Nolan movie, but I kind of got into it with him, or I spoke my piece, and he said, well, whatever, I guess I can't really be in the same league argument wise, rhetoric wise. I can't compete with some guy who likes Christopher Nolan's version of the Odyssey. So what can you do? I mean, again, just sort of it didn't come right out and say, Nowicky, you suck because you like the Odyssey. That shows you're a total cuck. And you love woke casting, and you probably like to see your girlfriend get railed, if you had a girlfriend. That would be the only reason you had one, was because she liked to make you watch her have sex with other guys. I mean, again, that wasn't directly said, but it's implied. But anyway, yeah. The title, Welcome Home, Ulysses, or Welcome Home, Odysseus. I can't seem to stop doing that. I'm just Roman. I'm just too Roman. I can't get into the proper Greek mode. So the reason for the title is related to my recent reading of the Odyssey. I read the Odyssey in anticipation of the Christopher Nolan movie because, as I talked about in a prior video, I had actually never read it before. I'd actually never read it before, and I wanted to know what it was that what the text was all about. What the raw materials were for this story that was being adapted into this movie that was proving to be quite controversial for any number of reasons. And after I read the story, after I got finished with, or the epic poem, after I finished, and I'd been more or less familiar with the story, and a big part of the story, a big part of the Odyssey, what makes the Odyssey is that Odysseus is gone. He's away from home for 20 whole years. 20 years. Can't find his way back. He's just fought in this dreadful war. They've won. They've emerged victorious. But now everything just seems to get in his way. He angers the gods, or some of the gods, for this reason or that reason, and he can't get back to his home country. He can't get back to where he belongs. Not for 20 years, not until 2 decades later. And I realized it really worked. It really coalesced with the story. Because without giving anything away, without giving too much away, the story is about a reunion that is long in the making. A reunion that both of the people who are being reunited, neither one of them thought this reunion would ever happen. Both of these people, shunned the idea of having a reunion because it wouldn't have been right. It wasn't the right thing to do. I won't go into any more detail than that. But circumstances change, and eventually 20 years later, the reunion happens. And these two characters who we thought were going to be apart for the rest of their lives, never communicate again, never exist again to one another except in one another's minds. We find that actually circumstances now have turned and made it so that it's permissible. It's morally permissible. It's cosmically permissible. It's permissible and it's politically permissible. Again, things have changed, and so they can be reunited. And the feeling of growing old, believing that you will never be reunited, that you'll never be able to see your home, as it were, again. In this case, your home meaning this other person. Look at this. They tried to keep me off of this bridge. They tried to stop me from coming onto this bridge. It's probably rickety. It's probably going to fall down under my feet. But yet it doesn't. Did they really think that would stop me? No. And this won't stop me from going on. Anyhow, as someone, I know I talk incessantly about aging these days, but when you're growing older, I think there's and you have the sense of really not being able to go home again, as they say, then you have this sense of things, of like needing to be resigned. You resign yourself because what else can you do? What other choice do you have? You have to resign yourself. It's the only way to be. If you don't resign yourself, then you'll only subject yourself to pain and torment. So, as one gets older, the necessity of guarding one's heart, of building up a stoic resolve, that becomes more and more important. And yet at the same time, the thing that you ardently want, you never stop wanting it. You never stop wanting it. It becomes something that you have to defer forever, if necessary. I think Langston Hughes wrote about a dream deferred, right? This is what we're talking about. A dream meaning an ideal, a reunion that is devoutly to be wished, a return to a return home. You know, just like these days we find ourselves yearning for the return of the King, don't we? We want the King's return. And I commented on this when I was discussing Dune, because there, of course, Muad'Dib, Paul Atreides, is not really a king. He's not really a messiah. But I remember thinking to myself, I want him to be. I want him to be that, because again, it's about we want the return of the king. Like Tolkien's the last novel in Tolkien's trilogy was The Return of the King, and I think that very title, that very notion, sums up what is in our hearts, because we are monarchical in our hearts. We don't want to admit it. We may want to say that we're enlightened, that we're democratic, that we've eschewed the idea of the king. This is temperamentally atheist, basically. Or not temperamentally, that's not the right word. This is having the attitude that you don't need a king, that you don't want a king, that we've done away with kings. No kings, right? That very notion is antithetical to what runs most deeply in our hearts. And of course, the story of the Odyssey ends with the return of the king, the unlikely return of the king. He returns home. It's what he has wanted for so long. It's what his wife and his son have wanted for so long, and it's what his enemies have always feared in their hearts, that he might yet return. That they don't know for sure. They think he's dead and gone, or they think that he's just lost somewhere in this futile odyssey where he just can't seem to return. So they suspect, well, everybody else who survived, they've all returned. Could somebody really take this long to return? No, he must be dead. He must be dead. That's what we think. And in my story, Welcome Home, Odysseus, there's something similar that happens. And the moment where the words Welcome Home, Odysseus are voiced is a moment of triumph. And it's a moment of completion. It's a moment of consummation. And I found that, I didn't, when I was writing this novella, at first I didn't really think of it in those terms. But after reading Homer's Odyssey, and after giving a lot of thought to Homer's Odyssey, in anticipation of the movie, I really thought, well, that's something that works. That's something that works. That's a parallel. By golly, it works. There are obviously some things about it that are different, but in his own way, the hero of the story is someone who has been wandering far from home for so long and can't find his way back, and thinks he never will get there. And the one with whom he's seeking reunion also thinks that this will never happen. But it does. It does happen. We have to defer the dream. Sometimes we have to defer it to whatever happens after we die. But sometimes, if we're particularly favored by the gods, or by God, as we would say today, if we're particularly favored for whatever reason, sometimes we obtain this reunion. We see this return. And the return is something that the joy of the return is something that goes beyond words. The bliss of the return, of the reunion, is something that can't really be expressed in words. And the phrase, "Welcome home, Ulysses," or "Welcome home, Odysseus," same guy. Two different names for the same guy. "Welcome home, Odysseus," that phrase, that phrase is more of an observation of the joy than an expression of the joy. That phrase is a kind of dry commentary on the joy. Because yes, it's a welcome situation, and yes, he and the one with whom he is finding this reunion, yes, they are home. They are home again after so many years wandering. One can easily make the parallel, of course, to the Old Testament, to the Hebrews looking for the promised land, and something always coming up and keeping them from being able to be there. I mean, there are endless number of analogs. You know, the homecoming is a motif that runs through literature because it's a motif that runs through man's lived experience. Okay, so that was something that whole idea would never have occurred to me to use in the story until I got really immersed in Homer's Odyssey, which I hadn't read before. And then once I read it, one day it just clicked in my mind. It was before I ever saw the movie. So no, it wasn't about the movie at all. Didn't relate to the movie, except for the fact that I read the... Is there another way up? Yeah, so, you know, if so the movie has something to do with it in the sense that I wouldn't have felt the push to read Homer's epic poem if I didn't know the movie was coming. And I wanted to be prepared for the movie. I wanted to know my stuff, you know. If this movie was going to be something that was this atrocious farce that did not do justice to Homer's classic work, then I wanted to know. I wanted to have it, I wanted to know for myself. So that fed into the story. Another thing that I discuss, or that is discussed in the book, especially in the epilogue of the book, of my new novella, Welcome Home, Odysseus, is the how we're always plagued by doubt. Are we really seeing what we think we're seeing? Are we really, has our greatest hope truly been consummated? And of course, our greatest hope can't ever be truly consummated in this life, for obvious reasons. And so for that reason, we sometimes feel doubt, and that doubt can be very insidious. It can plague you. I read a piece, or I was listening to a YouTube video about parallel worlds, and there were all these stories. Of course, there's no verification that any of them are true, so I don't know whether it's true or not, whether it actually happened or not. That's not really so much the point. That's not the point at all. But one of these ostensibly true stories that was told really blew my mind. It was about this guy who, when he was a young man, I think he got jumped, maybe he got mugged or something, and got knocked out, lost consciousness, and then after this happened, he lived the next 10 or 15 years, and in that span of time, he met this woman who he fell in love with, and who fell in love with him, and they married, and they had a very blissful marriage, and they had a child. So 10, 15 years later, he had a happy life. He had a good job. He was married to someone he loved and someone who loved him, and he had a child whom he adored. Then he went to bed one night, and he woke up all of a sudden with a start. He woke up with a start, and he found that he was like 15 years younger, and he'd been lying on the street, and it was the same night that he'd gotten jumped and gotten knocked unconscious on the street, and he realized eventually that the last 10 or 15 years that he had lived in his mind had passed in the span of about 30 seconds or so. He'd been unconscious for about half a minute, and during that time he had apparently dreamed everything. He had dreamed this wonderful life that went on for years and years and years, that he remembered so well, that he remembered, it didn't seem like a dream to him. It was vivid, it was real, it was like real life. But now he's back in his body that he was in 10 or 15 years prior, and he finds out that this woman that he met and loved and married, and the child that they had together that he loved so much, that they didn't exist. And try as he might, he could never find them. He could never find them because either they only existed in his mind, or maybe he'd passed into a parallel world where they existed. And it didn't exist any longer, or because he'd returned to his own world. Sorry, I've got some people in front of me here who I just want to keep going down the path, but they've stopped. You know, it's one of those things where if someone's going faster than you, you don't want to have them behind you, catching up little by little by little by little. You try and just want to let them pass so you can have your privacy. So they pass you, and then now they're stopped, like giving their, at a water fountain, giving their dog some water. I mean, I can't blame them for it, but I was just wanting them to keep going. Anyway, so I'm walking the other direction now. Maybe that's relevant to the stuff I'm talking about here. I don't know. I have to think that over. But coming across that account, again, I don't know whether it's real or not. I know I've heard about certain kinds of drugs. What is it, datura, which can make minutes seem like years. But when I heard about datura described in this way, it was sort of like a nightmare. This was good. This was a guy who, while he was out, when he'd gotten knocked in the head and lost consciousness, he suddenly had all these things that made his life joyful, and now they were gone. They were all gone. And for years afterwards, he lived with this ache of loss. And so at the end of the story, this is something that one of the characters struggles with. He wonders, has this all happened? Or he has a dream where it's the past again. And when he comes to, he's in this state, and he says, I don't want to go back to sleep. I don't want to go back to sleep because I'm happy now. I'm in a blissful state of joy now. I'm home now. I'm reunited with the person whom I ached to be reunited with for 20 whole years. But maybe it's not even real. Maybe if I go back to sleep again, maybe I'll be right back where I was. His companion assures him that when he wakes up, everything will be the same. He'll still be there. But she also says, if you do go back, you'll find me again. And that gives him peace and allows him to go back to sleep again. I think I'm going to end it there. By my book, Welcome Home, Odysseus, by Andy Nowicki.